Hi, welcome. I am Janice Lindstrom. I am a music therapist. That's what the MTBC stands for after my name. And I came to SMU from my private practice as a clinical music therapist, and then started supervising some practicum students at SMU. And then the two professors retired in the same year. And so they asked me if I would step into the classroom, and then I've stayed there. So, and then next year I get to be the director of music therapy just for fun, I guess. But so so I don't consider myself faculty. I consider myself a clinician still, even though I've been here since teaching since 2016. So I guess I need to update my file in my head of who I am. But I started teaching by borrowing materials from my predecessors. And then I started adapting those materials. And the biggest change was then, I think in 2016, when I started, they shifted, or maybe it was 2015, they shifted from Blackboard as the LMS to Canvas. And so I didn't have anybody to teach me Canvas except for Addie Tolliver. So most of what I know is from her, and then my own messing with the course and trying to figure out how to make it work. Oh, and then all of the learning we did over the summer before we taught hybrid during COVID. So that was fun. Okay, so ChatGPT wrote the description for my course because I didn't want to spend time drawing that up. So I hope that what I'm doing is actually living up to what you're here for. I am sharing what has worked in my classroom and some other things that I don't use in my classroom that I have seen that could work in other classrooms. Okay. And so the reason why we want to use modules is because it helps manage course flow. And I've seen some module use that's not very useful. And I've seen some module use that seems more useful. And then some module use that seems like it's specifically for online learning, which is not something that I do. Okay, so modules are a way to organize your course content and guide students through a structured learning path. So think of it as a container that holds different types of materials, like the assignments and the quizzes and the readings and the discussions and videos and anything related to a specific topic or unit of your course. And so the modules can help create a logical flow for students to navigate the course. Um, these the benefits of using a module is that you can assign content and modules to specific students. You can create prerequisites so that students have to finish the module in a specific order or complete the items in the module in a specific order. And you can organize the course content by the unit, by the day, the week, the topic, or the outcome. And you can track student progress through the sequence of learning activities. And then you can schedule items in the module to be released at specific times so that they're not seeing the entire course all at once. So some examples of some well-structured models include like modules that are organized by weekly or weekly classes or by topics. And you want to focus on the 4 steps of creating the course flow: design, develop, deliver, and reflect. So when you're thinking about design, you want to think about what is it that I want the learners to know or be able to do at the end of the module, and how are they going to show that they have mastered that knowledge or skill, and then how can you support them in getting there to that knowledge or skill. And then you want to think through the development of the module. You want to think through the logical course, the beginning, kind of an overview with the learning outcomes, time estimates if possible. You want to have the middle, which is the content of the lesson, which with readings, the audio, video, the images or interactive content, some opportunities to respond either through assignments or discussions or Q&A forums, And then at the end, you want to have some sort of summative assessment or a conclusion with a practical demonstration, a quiz or a test, or some project work to show mastery. So, and then the second part is that you want to reflect on what the learners learned and give them a hint of what's coming next. So you want to set due dates for all the tasks, and you can consider adding available from and until dates if you want to. You can have requirements set up for the module where you're forcing learners to move through in a sequential order. You can use text headers to separate parts of the module. Apparently you can include emojis. I don't do emojis in my communication mostly, unless it's a text message to my child because he only speaks in emojis. But then once you have delivered and set the due dates and requirements, then you want to spend some time reflecting. How did the lesson go and how did the learners perform? And then you can tweak your module, and then you can duplicate it so that the template of the module is repeated. So here's the part where we're going to look at examples. So this is how I set up my modules for one of my classes. I have an overview. I have the week. I don't put the date in the title because I don't want to have to go through every semester and change all the dates in the titles. I have specific places where I change all the dates, and I try not to have 1,000 places where I change all the dates. So I have the title of the activity at the beginning, and you can see that I've set up prerequisites there for this one. I want them to read. My students, I see them as a cohort, and so I teach them for 4 semesters in a sequence of their primary clinical training to become a music therapist. And so I put a lot of prerequisites in the first course, and I kind of spoon feed them how I want them to do things. And then I repeat that method or that same concept and format so that they know what to expect for all of the future semesters. And so they're well trained by the time they get to my 4th semester of working with them. And for this course is their 2nd semester with me. And so I just have the first week as a prerequisite to unlock all of the rest of the modules, because I want them to go through the first week in sequence so that they understand the format. And then the format of my modules are the same for the whole rest of the semester. So I have an overview, and then I have this is a, call that a text. Yep. Yeah. For before class, and I let them know that they should be spent, because it's a 2 credit hour class. I let them know they should be spending about 4 hours on the material to prepare for each class. And I've started breaking that down for them by saying you should be spending 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week in between this class and the next one doing the readings. And then you should be spending an hour on the weekends doing the assignment. And sometimes they do that and sometimes they don't. So then the reading is listed there with Tamano module 6 is the name of the chapter in the book that we're using. Tamano is the author, and then module 6 is how she names her chapters in that book. And so then I put in a reading guide in that page, and I'll show you all of these in a minute. The next is the assignment that's going to be demonstrated. So they have to do a therapeutic music experience at the beginning of class. And so that's due. Then during class, I teach 50-minute, or I teach 100 minutes once a week for these classes. And so I have an outline for how the class is going to go. And I always teach for 50 minutes, and then they have a 10-minute break, and then we teach for 50 more minutes. And so I have an outline of what's going to happen in class so that they can guide their note taking. And then after class, I don't expect them to spend a whole lot of time reading the wrap up, but I stick resources in there, see if they want to look into something that we've talked about a little deeper. And then, or if we have, sometimes I'm really nice to them and I go and download PDFs of the articles that we might have talked about and put them in there with the APA citation next to it, so that then if they want to use those resources in their final paper, I've done a lot of the work for them. I'm not sure if they figured that part out yet. Okay. So here is the module that was just screenshotted, and I was going to show you each of the pages. All right, and so I always put a to-do date on the overview because I want that to come up in their to-do list because my expectation is that each week they will read through the whole module and then go back and know schedule out their assignments for the week and how they want to do their reading and stuff. So I have a little the title of what we're talking about for the week, a little paragraph with maybe some questions or some reminders about assignments that are due. I have the course objectives. And I think by this part of the semester, when I was first building this out, I just took all of the objectives for the course and slapped them in every overview with the intention of going through each week and then editing. And by week 12, I've stopped editing to have individual um, objectives specifically for that class time. But that's still on my list of things to do when I refine my courses over the years. And then the due date specifically here. And so I teach this class 1 day a week, and so the due dates are all the same. But if I taught a class that met more than once a week, then I could have all of the due dates for the whole week in this overview. So then you click next at the bottom and it skips over the text headers, right? So you don't see the before class text header. You go to the reading guide. And so I label all of these pages reading guide, and then I put in the title of the chapter that we're reading and some questions to guide their reading. And then this item is from the library. It's the readings and resources. And so I just linked the readings and resources through Canvas, this right here. And then you can go to the book, and this is an online book. It's a book that the library has an electronic copy of. And so students can then find that. Let's see, did that work? No. Oh, it's not letting me do it here. Oh, there. I'm not clicking on the right thing because links don't look like links in the readings and resources. So you just have to keep clicking. That's what I do. And so then they don't even have to have their book with them. They could just access all of this on the app on their phone and still be able to complete the assignment, even if their power is out, but they have a charge on their cell phone. So I try to make it super simple, and it allows me to hover the readings and resources. If I put it in that tool that's in Canvas, then the library will go get a copy of it. And most of the time, if an electronic copy is available, that's what they get. And so that makes it easy for my students to find the book. And I don't have to have PDF copies of the first chapters because the bookstore hasn't gotten the books in yet. So I like that much better. Okay, so that's the reading guide. And then when you click next again, it goes to the assignment. So I have the assignment description with the due date. And then this is, I didn't put this in student view, by the way. I don't really know how the students see this, but I'm assuming it's pretty close to what I'm seeing here. So this is what my class outline looks like. In this particular class, they're doing demonstrations for the first hour. And then in the second hour of class, I'm doing more lecturing, and actually we spent most of the time experiencing a guided relaxation yesterday. And so they know what's happening. And I always put in a little note about what's coming up for next week. And then the wrap up is just sometimes some of these are more in depth than others. I usually try to make announcements if I have any announcements about here's what you need to remember for next week. So I teach on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so on the Wednesday class, when it's Ash Wednesday, I teach from noon to 2, and I'm in Meadows, and Perkins has a service for Ash Wednesday at noon. And so students are always late to my class because they can't find parking. And so now I can put in the wrap up for the week before that Ash Wednesday in red remember, Ash Wednesday's next week, so parking is going to be difficult. And so at least I have told them these things, and then they can start to prepare. And then it reminds me as I'm preparing class every semester too, that I need to remember that these things come up to affect it. And then here's the additional resources. And this semester, for this class, I actually switched textbooks. And so these resources actually relate to the modules from the last year. So they don't line up exactly. But again, it's built. And so now I can go in when I have time, and each week then I can edit my module and it'll be set up for the next semester that I teach this course. All right. And then if you keep clicking next, then it just goes to the next overview. Okay, so the main part of what I wanted to do today was to show this is a sandbox course. We have really great professors in Meadows, some of the best composers. Yeah, and so if you go over here to module, so this was, I believe this was a template that Addie loaded into mine. It's an old one. All right, so they have all that stuff in the front. But if you go to modules here, it's not very organized. So I have files, right? And so they're just like, it's a PowerPoint, which always takes forever to load. And then if you click next, you're going to the PDF, which we're not doing, like it's not for the next week. These aren't in order or anything. It's just a collection of files. And then there's articles, there's an assignment instruction. I don't know what unit that's supposed to go to. And then this is how the readings are given. So we couldn't figure out, this professor couldn't figure out how to tell students that a reading was due. And this is the last time this particular course has been worked on, if that tells you anything. And so they put the reading here and then write an essay. And so it's just an assignment without a very good description. And then when you click next, it's another reading. So going back to look at these modules, again, the modules aren't consistent in how they're named. So this one's week 2, this one's called week 2 or week 1, and this one's called week 2 content. This one is called final essay stuff, right? So also all of the information in the module are text headers that don't show up when you go through the flow of the course. So how can we, and this course is taught on Tuesday and Thursday. So I like the Tuesday and Thursday headers because that tells me in a really clear way what's due or what we're going to work on each day of the course. But how can we adjust this module so that it flows better? What do we need to do? What would help you understand how you're supposed to engage with the material in this course better?
I won't say it because it'll be cheating, but I'll pass the microphone.
Oh, also, I will say, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. Here, if you go in my built actual course, all the way at the bottom is the module template. And so it has a template for an overview. There's a template for the pages, so content that I want to put. And so this is what I did my reading guide in and my course outline. You're using this page. There's a wrap up. And then if you build out the course with the elements that you want, it tells you here, everything can be duplicated except for quizzes and text headers. So then you can build it and then you can just duplicate it. And then you can edit this one for the next week. So it makes it really easy once you figure out how you want it to set up. Okay, but for this course that's a mess, how can we make it less of a mess?
Well, I think one of the things that we do in our courses is that we have the overview for the entire course, and then we do a week by week. But we also, because we're dealing with a bunch of different things, we have resources available. Um, we have a wiki within our own within Guildhall, and so we'll also have hyperlinks to wiki elements that are help them with things like design, um, terminology, and methodology. And so we do a lot of the modules are not just about the weekly flow. It is an overview of the entire thing, and then also all the resources available to them. And then we go into the week by week
Okay.
implementation.
So they can, so if that's, so I have a homepage on my courses that has some overview information, and it gives the week breakdown, again, not with dates, so that I don't have to enter the dates every semester. I put the dates in the assignment and in this. Yeah, and I don't put the dates in simple syllabus either, because I don't want to have to go correct that every time. But I put the dates here with the due dates for the module.
One of the things that you can do though with simple syllabus is you can copy stuff over and have it automatically adjust dates for you.
In
So when you're
this
copying,
part here, so the dates show up here in the
Yeah.
Canvas course schedule.
Yeah.
So I make sure I have all the assignments. And so the assignments all show up
Right.
with the dates at the bottom of simple syllabus.
But like if you have assignments, for instance, that are let's say week 2, your assignment is due.
Uh-huh.
When you copy that module over, it will automatically update your
Right.
dates
In the
if you
assignment.
choose it. Yeah.
Yes, I do that because the assignments have dates. They have due dates. And then I put the to do, I put this on the student to do, the overview, so it cues them to look at the first page of the module. And so then there's a start here page that has the overview, and then you could have the resources here. And if you did that, then I would probably want to make that my home page, which you can choose your home page here. You can choose course modules. And so that's not how I have my course set up, because it's not an online course. That would make sense in that way. But I provide the resources in a different way. So you could have a start here module, you could have a resources module, and then you could have your weekly content and set it up to where they are going through. Let's see, I think, edit is how you figure out prerequisites. So you figure out what needs to happen first, and if you want them to complete one of the items or all of the items, and then you can assign what they do. And if it's an assignment, you could say get a certain grade. Yes. All right, I did that by clicking on these 3 dots next to the module, right? So I'm in the modules here. And here's an open, like these are finished weeks, so I've just closed them, so it makes it easier for me to see.
I'm just going to repeat the question for the folks in Zoom. The question is, how do we get to the module settings?
And so the 3 dots in the gray bar, that is the module label. You click on that, you go to edit, right? Did you see that? So it's just edit. And then you can add prerequisites. I would probably want to do this one, like make it happening after that one. And then you can put in requirements. If you add a requirement for, it'll suggest them to you. So that's an assignment. And so I could have submit the assignment as the requirement, and then it won't show them the next page until they submit the assignment. So if you have these set up this way, then the student cannot click next until they do whatever the action is. And I found that students have a hard time finding the mark as done, especially if they are looking on a device that's not a laptop or a desktop computer. It's hard to find the mark as done circle. And so sometimes I have to spell that out for them.
But when they do mark as done, if you set that as the requirement, and they do mark that as done, when they go back into the module list, it shows that there's a little check mark by it. So it's like a to-do that they've completed. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting.
so I have another course that I set up a little differently with a different template. Oh, nope, that's the same course. It's this one. And so here they have more things to do in the start here module, and they have to do all of these things. And I took off the mark as done part because I had too many emails from students. And this is their second time or fourth time going through this with me. And so I think in the first course, the first iteration of the course, it still has a mark it as done. Here, let's see, if we view it as a student. See, all of this is grayed out and I cannot continue through it until I do these things. And so you just have to view that one, and it tells them to click next at the bottom because they can't figure that out on their own either. Oh, that one, well, that's just an odd template thing. And then this one is a one question survey with a forced answer. That's just so that they are saying that they have read all of this material because they have to be responsible for taking care of our things. And so I also give them bonus points in their participation grade for completing that.
You know, if you go back to the, sorry. Yeah, if you go back to the first module is the getting started one, and if you go to the one that have the tabs, is there any,
This one right here.
yeah, is there any way to, no, yep, that one. Is there any way to ensure that they go through every one of those tabs prior to moving forward? Do you know if there's any sort of locking mechanism? There's not?
Yeah, this is a template that was used only in Meadows, and I don't believe it's suggested anymore. But I haven't wanted, I don't know how to keep the same content and change the template of the modules. And
So
so I
there's a
probably
couple
need to
people
reach
that
out to
can
Addie for
help.
that one.
Yeah, like there's a couple people that can help you. Your academic technology services director could help you because this is part of a tool that attaches to Canvas that usually instructional designers have access to. The online ops team has it. I can help you as well. And I mean, probably Levi could help you guys. Like could help you guys in engineering. Um, but this is something that we can set up for you, but there's not a way to enforce it. Like, go to this tab, then to be able to go to this tab. It's different from the tool that they use, for instance, for those HR trainings that we do, like those are it's just different systems. It's just the behavior that you can enforce is just between the pages. So you can say, go to that page and view what's in there and trust that the students will view everything that's in there.
Yeah, also you can sometimes, in the first semester that I teach them this practicum course, that this is the template that I use for that. I go through each of those. I do the clicking for them. So this one, when you edit it, the other thing that's confusing for me is when you edit it, it doesn't look like that. It looks like this. And so then I forget that it is tab. So these are just things that I want to change someday, but they're not high on my priority list, so I haven't done it yet. Okay. Other questions?
It's a combination. There's like a hidden like keyboard combination that allows us to kind of bring up that tool. It's just we don't offer the training to faculty on that tool. We are not, that's not something that
That's
we do.
probably
So,
good.
huh?
As faculty, that's probably a good idea.
There's a lot of features. It's called like a design tools. There's a lot of features kind of to edit your course and create these little template-y things. So there's just, me, some folks in IT that do this. But I mean, we do consultations with faculty. So like you can just set up a time with me and I'll do and work this with you to make sure that your course looks the way you want it to look. But specifically for Guildhall, whenever you guys move to doing your course online, there will be a team of instructional designers that will be working with you. So they have access to that tool. They'll be able to do that for you.
So if I were going to revise these modules here to make it make more sense, I would add a page. I'd probably make a new page. And then I'd edit that to make it look pretty, right? I would probably keep this. I'd probably take this header out and make it a page that has the course outline, because I would teach this in person. So I'd have the course outline. So they would have notes and they would know what to expect for the day. And then this, I would make it an actual assignment with a description. Instead of having just the word improvisation on there, I would probably make that a page or an assignment or a discussion or something. Give a description of what's happening to make it more clear, because I also find it useful for, I put in all the notes that I might need for teaching the class each semester, so that when I'm going back to this course, I don't have to do so much thinking. I do a lot of thinking in the summer when I'm not really paid. So that I don't have to do a lot of thinking during the semester when I have other obligations and students asking me questions and things. Um, and so I would probably spell that out, and then I'll go then when I come to class, every day is a new surprise. I'm like, oh, look, I planned something really awesome today. And so instead of just improvisation, I would know exactly what I'm doing. And so then it's not, I'm just following along. Instead of I would get rid of this header too, and not have the reading be an assignment. Instead, because there's no quiz attached to this. So again, I would make a page. I would attach the readings and resources to the chapter so that they could find that easily. And I would have a reading guide, and that would spell out what I would need them to do. Any other ways? Oh, I would also have consistent titles. So this one, instead of being week 1, I'd probably call this I'd probably come up with something different, because I don't like having a syllabus day. Unless, well, except for these are freshmen. I usually have a syllabus day for freshmen, because I've learned that freshmen come from high school and they don't know how to do college when they come from high school. So I have a syllabus day, but then students don't show up. So I often have, for my future classes, when I see them multiple times or like several semesters in a row, I tell them, I said, you're going to have readings due on the first day, because we only have 15 weeks for me to teach you everything I know about music therapy. And if you want to be a good music therapist, you need to learn it all. So make sure you get the book and have the readings. And it's always like a 3-page chapter or something that I know they're not going to read anyway, but some of them might. So there at that. And then week 2 would look the same. It would be a broad history and a current overview instead of week 2 content. But consistency of the titles helps your student understand the course.
See the little feature that she also has when I had added? There's a little button right below that title that said lock until.
Called
Go
what?
when
Here?
you click to edit. Right below the module name, there's lock until. You can also set a date for when you want that model to unlock. So if you build your course, imagine that she has built this whole course and you're copying over for the next semester. If you want to control the pace in which your students navigate the modules, you can say lock until a certain date, and the system will automatically unlock by that date that you set up. So you don't have to go back and unlock it, but you really control the pace in which the students are navigating forward. In addition to the prerequisites, in addition to setting up the structure of the module, for them to move in a sequential viewing of items and everything, you can lock until a certain date.
And so then also when you do that, you can view progress. And so if you have it, so I don't look at my students' names, but if you have it where like mine, it's complete once they open the first page. But if you have it built out to where they have to go through it sequentially, then you can see who's read the syllabus and who hasn't, or who's clicked mark is done and who hasn't. And so I don't, oh yeah, this one doesn't have any students in it, so I can't view progress there. Other questions or suggestions or things you want to see?
The view progress button that allows for us to see again students who have engaged with the content in the module, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can also take a look at people and see how much time they're spending in your course. Look, I spend 25 hours or days. Is that hours or days? Hours in my course. And my students are spending between 2 and 5. That one I
I was
never
just gonna
used
mention that
'cause
there's the dropout detective as another tool where you can tell who's doing or not doing things in your class.
that's one I haven't learned how to use, so I don't use it. Oh, plus I teach 5 students, so if they're gonna drop out, I'm gonna know. And I don't need an AI to tell me that, but it's right here.
Janice,
I don't know what it does. Yes.
you mentioned quizzes. Are quizzes modules in themselves?
No. So if I wanted to have a quiz, then I would go here to quiz, right? So what I did was I click on add, the plus button to add, and then I took the drop down menu. And so I can choose any of those and quiz here. And then I want to create a quiz because I don't have one. And somehow we've moved from classic quizzes to new quizzes. I don't know the difference, so I'm just gonna stay with the new one. And you can put it in an assignment group. And then you can make it look pretty by having all of your stuff indented in certain ways. And if you do this ahead of time and you're adding a whole bunch of stuff, it'll memorize your indentation until you stop doing it and then you go back in again. But if you're adding a whole bunch of stuff at the same time, it'll keep your indentations.
So just one thing, the beauty of using modules is that you can add anything that, or most things that Canvas does into a module. So you can add pages, quizzes, you can add assignments, you can add a link to an external web page, you can add a PDF document. So you can then hide all of that stuff from your main menu and only have the things that you're using. So you can just guide the students to go to the modules area to access anything that is related to the course. Some faculty put everything that they have in the files area, which is basically like storing into Dropbox or Box, right? It's fine as a storage place, but it's harder for the students to navigate and find the things that they need for the course. I usually recommend that faculty use that files area for them to organize their files for the course as they would in Box, Dropbox, and only make the modules area visible to the students because they can find anything that they will need for the course there. And you can really organize it within these modules and so that the students can get to the information they need quicker. So that it becomes about identifying what those resources, not taking advantage of what those resources are instead of spending time looking for the resources to be able to learn the content.
Yeah, so I don't give them access to files because I've not organized this in any way because that's a future to-do list. I just dump everything in there and then add it to the modules as I need it. And I expect them to come here to find it. So then I can come here and get a file that's already been created. Indent it so that it matches all of my other work. And then I can move it to the place where it needs to go. Oops, that's the wrong module. I could do this and say it needs to be an introduction and it needs to be after the before class. And so then I will move it there already.
I was just gonna share, I'd gone through the quality matters and had one of my courses done through this and kind of similar. I just structured kind of my module. Mine aren't by week, that kind of thing, because some of them are like just a week, some are a couple weeks, but it's structured around topics. And I set up to where I had my course objectives, then I had lower level objectives that flow down in the modules. And just embedded in the module, like you're seeing there, reading assignments, quizzes where they apply, but generally each module tries to wrap up with some kind of an assessment. Homework, major homework, or a quiz, or for some of them, kind of more of an exam level. So that they're kind of, here's a package of knowledge, what's my overall assessment to it? Usually it's, most of the modules that I have, it's like 2 or 3 kind of things to assess, did they learn that module of material?
One of the things that John brought up is really important, right? And whenever COVID times, when we're training faculty and try to onboard all faculty to learn a little bit about how to organize their course online, to be able to teach online, found a little resistance, right? Because what we were suggesting is that, yes, organize your course in modules. Why we were suggesting that? Because we were training a variety of faculty from all of these disciplines. And all disciplines could be organized by weekly modules, right? Because we go into schedules and it's easy to say, just go by weekly modules, divide your topics in weekly modules for all disciplines and works. It's not the only way, right? You can certainly do it by units or you can do it by different concepts that cover multiple weeks. Is just sometimes easier to say, weekly units because technically all courses from all disciplines could be organized that way. And it makes sense, students.
Right. So you could do it by topic and just put all of the stuff for the topic. That way you could use headers to organize all of the files that you're sticking in there. Yes.
I also like the modules thing because you can hide things, so you don't have to show them to your students. So for example, you can work on a new whole module thing that you're working on your own, make sure it's not published, and then you add all the information you need. When you're ready, you can just publish it for the students, and then magically they'll see it. So I like that a lot as an organizational tool when something, you need to change something about the course.
Say this, by working with faculty throughout all these years, one of the biggest troubleshooting issues is sometimes if people think that things are visible to their students and the students are like, well, I don't see this, I don't see it, is because it's not published. So it's always good to go to that student view and see exactly what the students see, just to make sure that things are visible, or the things that you want visible are visible and the things that you don't want visible are not. And I've always, when I taught, I've done the same thing as Janice. Every part of my module at the bottom, I had instructor content and I had my lesson plan on anything that I was going to be showing in class that I would never share with my students. It was just things for me. I left all those things unpublished at the bottom. So student view is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
One thing I did learn that was not viewable, I always want students to view, is the total grade. It was like viewable in some of my classes and some of them it says this box was clicked in settings, was hide totals and student grade summary. So I had to make sure went into all of my courses and uncheck that box, which I don't know why that was checked to begin with, because I was never trying to hide that. But I think sometimes when they do updates to Canvas, then stuff gets moved and checked, and then I don't know to take a look and see until the student says, I can't see that.
Is there a way to unlock or set a date for unlocking the materials inside of the modules?
Yes.
So the module itself, but then also like
Uh,
headers, the assign. I know you can.
Headers, no. Text headers, there's no way. But for assignments, you can do it. You can do for files. I think it's assignments and files, and maybe I'm not sure about pages. I
so
don't think
this is an assignment.
yeah, available for yeah.
And so then you would do the available from, and so the date. And then the time that you want it to pop open.
You can do it for files.
Can you?
Yes. Yes, you can.
I believe you. I mean, you know more than I do. I just don't know where to do that.
So go into the, is it in the files area?
Here. If you,
No, there's a way to kind
Oh.
of publish the files and to a certain date. So if you go into a file, go to the edit button, just go on the three dotted icon right there. There is a way of doing it. There's a way to kind of only make that visible to a certain date. Let me play around.
is it in?
So I have a sort of, I guess it's probably a bit of a different question, but is there a way to, let's say you have an assignment for the students, is there a way to create a self-assessment quiz or something like that within the assignment page so they can do a self-assessment prior to turning it in? So create a survey for it?
What do you mean by self-assessment?
So did you
So-
add all these files, did you put out almost like a tick box?
Like a checklist. I mean, yes, there's workarounds. There's workarounds, and it's always certainly make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just to add that to the assignment. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. That's above my pay grade.
With creativity, there's always a way of doing things. It's just we need to be creative, you know?
That's a call Tyson question to me. He's my guy. Yeah. What is the acronym for AETD or I don't know, the ATSD? Yeah. I don't know what that means. Academic support of technical difficulties. Yeah. All right, that's our time for today. Does anybody have any other questions?
Would you be willing to share the template for the module? Is that possible?
You can get it from Addie.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
how to
have
do
one, I can share one with you. I mean, your academic technology services director also can share templates with you. I'm available to do one-on-one consult with people just to set up the course. I've done many of them, but also your ATSD is also able to do it. Some of the times, like if you go to your own ATSD, they might have a template that has been done for your school that is more like it. But the one that she showed was one that I happen to actually have designed.
Right.
So
It was the COVID one.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the COVID-y one. The COVID-y one was mine. You're welcome.
This
It's
one.
visible in many of people's courses.
And-
Still to
and,
this day.
At the CTE events that I go to at the beginning of every semester, so in one of the things, the suggestion is that if professors use similar templates for their courses, then students have an easier time understanding how to navigate every course because they're all set up and navigable in a similar way. And so I learned, I mean, Addie set this up and then I did not deviate from it.
And that's the whole argument for using simple syllabus too as a syllabus repository. Like all of the syllabi from SMU kind of looks similar and you can easily find information that you need. Yeah, but you know, as he pulled up, I already saw there's a more Guildhall-y, you know, template. They all, yeah, they all look somewhat the same, you know. Well, I'm happy to work for you, Vonnie. Like, if you want, I'm happy to bring something into your course. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.